Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 science fiction thriller Risen, a film that is written and directed by Eddie Ayer. Now then, this film focuses on a small American town, essentially. At the start of the film, there is a meteor strike that hits this small town. And disaster then unfolds because there is like some toxins released. It's kind of sucked into the soil, and there's all these toxins released that essentially kills everybody within a certain radius of this small town. They're all dead. So scientists, the government, they all get involved, all investigate, and there's a good portion, about a quarter of the people who died as a result of these toxins just start rising up and behaving really strangely. Obviously not knowing who they are, still being declared clinically dead. And then these strange anomalies start taking place. They take one of them close by to this anomaly, and it starts becoming aware and communicating with those around it. And it's down to one scientist in particular who seems to have a connection with this event, and is very, very keen to try and figure out what is going on, as is the rest of the world, as you could imagine. Right, what are my thoughts on Risen? Well, essentially, guys, if you have seen the Denis Villeneuve film Arrival, you have seen a much better version of this film, because this film is very similar in its concept, in its ideas, in its storytelling, right down to, if you remember in Arrival, the Amy Adams character, it's kind of brought on board by the government, knock on the door saying, this has happened, we need your help, etc. Very similar scene happens in this film with the scientists they need to come on board. The main difference between these films, for me, is this one was dull as dishwater, and there's it's no beating around the bush really. This film is dull. It's a hard watch. I like science fiction. I like films that take their time with its story, hence this is why I have this in my collection. This film is not a thriller minute, action film in any way, shape or form. It's a beautifully told science fiction story that grips you because of the writing, because of the performances, the concept, the whole thing. You're on board with that film, and it gives you a killer twist at the end, if you like. Great ending. This film doesn't have any of that, really. It's such a shame as well, because there were some good ideas they had in this film, that they played around with, that they just didn't expand on at all. The film didn't feel global as much as they might have tried to make it seem like that, with like news clippings and things like that, and news stories on the TV. It never really felt that there was a real crisis going on, like you certainly did in Arrival. It felt too enclosed. They didn't do enough with the interactions between the human characters and the one character in particular, this scientist, with this being, I suppose, I'll describe it as that has risen up. And there's just not enough happens. There's loads of dialogue. It's all dull. It trundles along at a snail's pace, the film. It could have been edited down, I think, to make it at least 20 minutes shorter, because some of the stuff they give you in this film is just not interesting to watch. I found myself yawning a few times watching the film, which is a real shame. Like I said, I love sci-fi. I love the idea of stories like this, first contact type stories. And it tried to tell this story, and it tried to, lay it out, the implications of what was going on. But you just didn't care because you weren't invested enough in these characters. I didn't know enough about them. I didn't really care. And the stories they tried to tell about them and the backstories and stuff, again, weren't told in an interesting way, so you weren't invested. And I just found myself being constantly presented with these characters that I didn't like or care about. And some of the performances were really a little bit melodramatic. Long gazing stares, looking dramatic at things, and characters in a room, jumping or looking shocked about something they're seeing in this room, but the reactions didn't seem real to me. Some of the things, you're literally seeing the dead rising, and all they do is a little bit of a and a little bit of a jump and things like that, and I'm like, what? And then you get other scenes that just don't make sense. You get people in hazmat suits investigating this site because they know it's poisonous, and then these bodies that are dead, they've got them in like an autopsy room, and the poor buggers doing the autopsy have just got face screens on. They're not in hazmat suits or anything. And then the bodies start rising up, and nobody rushes in the room to protect these people doing the autopsy, get them out of the room. They just leave them to it. And in fact, some of them actually give them instructions, check his pulse, this, that, and the other. And I'd be like, excuse me, can you open that bloody door? I'd like to get out now because the body's just risen from the grave. So, it's at odds with itself. Some of it just doesn't make sense. So, for me, this was a story and a film that had loads of potential. Didn't really have any problem with any of the production values and things like that. It looked alright. It sounded alright. The concept was great. Some of the effects that they use had some interesting designs and interesting ideas going on. It just dragged for me, the story, and I wasn't invested in the characters, which is a real shame, which is why I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. Science fiction fans, you may find something of interest here because it's got some interesting ideas. Everybody else you'll probably be a bit bored with it, unfortunately. So that's why I've given it a 5 out of 10. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you liked the review. I hope you found it useful. I will be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.